How about a third Cowboys report of the evening? Couple different futures deals and 2 re-signings being done by the Dallas Cowboys this evening. Before we get to that, Toddler Olivia, do you want to say hello?
Hi.
There you go. Go find your mama and do bedtime with her. We will have the breakdown here of the Cowboys report, but she really wanted to say hi. Make sure you guys are subscribed so we can feed her and help keep her happy and healthy here in the Downey household. Hit that sub button for more free Cowboys YouTube videos, occasionally featuring baby Olivia, who is now a full-on toddler. All right, the Cowboys have made several different roster moves here, futures deals in particular. 2 veterans they have re-signed, by the way. Quarterback Will Grier is re-signing with the organization. Linebacker Darius Harris, both of those were veteran players who were not technically eligible for futures deals, but they're going to re-sign super cheap, probably no real guaranteed money, just to have a team locked in for the upcoming offseason. And then they have brought back several different players on futures deals, 9 of them in total. All these guys coming in off the practice squad. 3 wide receivers, Kelvin Harmon, the former NC State product, Seth Williams, the former draft pick out of Auburn, wide receiver Jalen Cropper, all 3 of whom spent time, and really for the really all season really, were on the practice squad this year. Recent practice squad pickup Jack Anderson has been re-added. He had signed like a week ago even, so a late addition there. Defensive tackle Denzel Daxon, who is a international player pathway program guy, so he actually didn't count on the practice squad there. Linebacker Brock Mogensen. I will make note, Aaron Wilson down in Houston had that earlier today, so that one was previously known. Luiji Vilain, the pass rusher, outside linebacker, edge product out of Michigan and Wake, to the futures deal. Troy Pride, who started for the Cowboys at corner because they were down to like corner 9 this year. He started on Sunday. He is back. Luq Barcoo, who had also signed at the same time Jack Anderson did, added to the roster as a futures deal player. There are a couple different unsigned players we'll get to here in a little bit, but I do think the most telling one, and maybe the most notable name, the one that we're most familiar with, so to speak, I think it has to be Will Grier, right? So are you glad to keep Will Grier in the fold for at least the time being? Does not preclude you from doing something with Rush or Lance or anything along those lines. This is a veteran player who has been around for a couple different regimes to an extent in terms of play callers with Kellen and Mike McCarthy. Friends with Dak Prescott as well, and good to have a cohesive quarterback room on top of that, and he's not going to cost you anything anyway. So are you glad to re-sign Will Grier? Y for yes, N for no. Go vote at the pinned comment of today's video. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. All right, let's go more in depth on each of these guys here, then get to the unsigned players on this roster here for the Cowboys that have not been added from the practice squad. Darius Harris, who a little bit of playing time for Dallas, was a special teams player, spent time with the Chiefs previously. I don't know if this really has any insight whatsoever into what are they going to do with Mike? What are they going to do with with Mike Zimmer, Mike McCarthy, I should say. I don't think those really mean anything. I think this is your front office, your player personnel, really Will McClay saying, let's bring back this guy, that guy. Insight from the coaches. They did their exit interviews today. I'm sure this was do you want to come back? Sure, here's a futures deal. Sure, here's a vet minimum deal for Darius Harris. So just some additional back end of the roster depth on that side with Darius Harris back in the fold. None of these moves, by the way, I want to make this point very clear. None of these moves really mean anything in terms of free agency. This is what every NFL team does. There is zero reason to complain of, look at them being cheap. Every NFL team does this. This is how you go from having, you've got all these free agents to now you don't have nearly as many because you're knocking out players from this angle. It doesn't even really impact your salary cap space at all. These guys are so cheap, they don't change the numbers from that regard in terms of how they count the top 51. This is what every NFL team does. It's standard business practices. It's easy business practices. It would be a concern if they didn't do any of these future deals. So I know they're not the biggest names. It does not preclude you from getting a different backup quarterback, from getting a linebacker, getting receiver help, defensive line help, O-line help, whatever. This is what every single NFL team does, and they're smart to do so. We'll break down the other practice squad deals, names added to futures deals, but today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets even easier for any live event. It filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats. So you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets to find the best value. It is curation designed to save you even more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Find that best value with Game Time Picks. I always toggle the all-in pricing feature on. It shows your total cost up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. Download the Game Time app today over at gametime.co. Create your account and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, all guaranteed. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. All right, the other futures deals here, these are all practice squad players who are going to be fighting for maybe the last training camp spot or maybe more like, or last roster spot in training camp. Maybe more likely another practice squad spot. Kelvin Harmon, Seth Williams, who are a little bit older among the receiving group there. Harmon, the big body outside receiver, flashed some stuff late in the preseason. Seth Williams picked up the start of the season. That is the former Auburn, I believe, 5th-round pick, going top of the cuff there by the Jags. Again, good size, speed, hasn't put it all together. Might not ever at this point. Glad to see Jalen Cropper back. He has been a consistent Cowboys training camp fan favorite with what he's been able to do as more of a slot receiver. This is a no-brainer to bring back all three of those guys. All three of them were the only 3 receivers on the practice squad. We will be expanding the depth charts in the not-too-distant future, by the way, to include these guys as you look forward once we get the graphics back, hopefully tomorrow. Again, at-home videos because, at this point it's late in the night, so it's timing, whatever. But we'll expand the depth charts to include these players. Jack Anderson, who we spent some time on earlier last week when he had been added to the active roster. Offensive guard, really, Texas Tech product. Gets to come back home, so to speak, to spend the offseason. Denzel Daxon was a no-brainer. He's an international player pathway program. Believe they'll still give him 3 years to work through that despite being a Illinois product as an undrafted free agent. Dallas did not know he was an IPP player when they added him as UDFA, so kind of as a nice free surprise for Dallas there. One linebacker really is Brock Mogensen, Montana State, I believe, again, going top of head there. UDFA spent the entire year on the practice squad, and then Luiji Vilain was, a post-preseason pickup for the Cowboys. Didn't produce until he went to Michigan, or from Michigan to Wake Forest, coming out of the NFL draft a couple years ago. Elite name, though, and I do believe in the name theory, after all. Troy Pride, who had to play real snaps in the season finale for the Cowboys, and wasn't terrible necessarily. It wasn't great, but enough to get brought back on a futures deal, which again costs you no money. I like that move. Luq Barcoo, who had been picked up again the same time Jack Anderson did, additional depth in the secondary. These are probably going to be guys 70 to 77, give or take, on your roster. So, some other UDFAs they'll fight. Maybe a couple of them end up being 62 and 63, and they hang around longer or maybe make the roster depending on injuries. But these are all back of the roster players. So what is your confidence level in the Cowboys this offseason? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. We'll break down some of the unsigned players here in just a second, but let me know in the comments of today's show. That leaves, by my count, and I reserve the right to potentially be wrong on this one, 5 unsigned practice squad players. One of them, Dalvin Cook, has not been signed, which I'm not surprised by. He's a veteran. He's a vested veteran. He's a free agent. I don't know if there's going to be any interest there. He got 2 minimal games, and I don't think he looked good in practices. That's why he never got called up again. So that's noteworthy. Malik Davis, maybe he's a younger name, maybe not better name at this time. He's been around the Cowboys for a while. Sometimes when these guys don't sign, A, sometimes they sign later. B, sometimes they want to see if there's interest elsewhere. And that could be the case for Malik Davis. Dakoda Shepley falls in the veteran category, offensive lineman. I wouldn't be shocked if he found his way back. He seemingly always does. Jalen Dalton, the defensive tackle, unsigned. And Dee Delaney, unsigned as well. Delaney only got picked up because they were so decimated at safety for a little bit. They had nobody on the practice squad. So I'm not sure he ends up finding his way back to Dallas when it's all said and done. That is it for today's show. 3 videos today, 2 tomorrow. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out.